Hello, my wonderful friends. How are you? Happy New Year. Are you guys having a good 2024 so far? I know January can sometimes be a little bleak. Weather-wise, it's just really cold and we have, the holidays are over. We don't have quite the celebration going on, but what we do have is books. So let me tell you about what I plan to read in January. The first week of January, I am in the 12 days of Christmas still. So I shared what I was reading in the beginning of January already. So I'm going to tell you what I'm continuing on with if I'm not done with it, and then what I have not talked about yet. So I'm going to start by telling you what I'm going to be reading with Courtney Reads. We're starting today, and that's The Secret of Chimney, and this is by Agatha Christie, and I have read this before, but I don't remember the whodunit part or the main details. I think I was probably in middle school or early high school when I read this before. And so there is a house party setting. It does not, if I remember correctly, have Poirot or Miss Marple as someone trying to help solve it. So it's just the people of the house party and probably the local constables and detectives and whatnot. So I'm very excited to be reading with Courtney. We always have a ball reading together, and we're usually reading something together. So I love that. Next, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I know this is her most famous work. It's such a classic, but I've never read it before, and I thought that it would be a good one to read for January. Mrs. Dalloway apparently is an elegant, upper class woman who is having a party, and she has her life intersect with some different things and people in this day. Things are going on that she wasn't really connected to, but gets connected to from my understanding. I don't know what the themes of the story are yet. I'm excited to find that out as I read this classic story. So next, for what I'm going to be reading with my kids, we're going to be continuing on with Winterfrost by Houts. This is a story that's taking place in Denmark. There is Winterfrost, so basically the fog has frozen. A young girl gets left with her baby sister because there are no other options at home for just supposed to be for a couple of days. And this is a story that's happening like Christmas Eve night, and all the rest of the events are happening after Christmas, so perfect for this time of year. So she forgot to put the pudding out for the niece, which are these, what she thinks is imaginary, that's just a, tradition to put the pudding out. She forgets all about it, and her personal niece is offended, and all sorts of crazy things happen from there for her and her little baby sister. So I read this on my own last year to see what it was all about, and I wanted to share it with my kids this year, so I'm reading it aloud. So it'll take a while because I eventually run out of steam with my voice reading aloud. Plus I'm reading aloud history and that kind of stuff to them during the day since we homeschool. We're also going to be continuing on with some of the side books in the Green Ember series. Green Ember series is by S.D. Smith, and it is a beautiful series. The original series about bunnies that are fighting for truth, and it is full of so much fantasy and just charm, and the relationships are wonderful. So much truth for kids and adults. And I say this all the time, if it's a good kids book, adults will enjoy it too. So I think this is an excellent series. So what we're doing is we're working our way through the prequels. We have read the first two prequels, and so we're going to read the third prequel of these stories, which is The Tales of Old Natalia, Prince Lander's War. And so this is what's happening, like, I think a century or two before the Green Ember series. And it kind of tells how all the characters eventually in the Green Ember series figure out where they were from things that happened in the past are somehow connected to, in their world, the present. And then there are some just some companion novels that he's written about an archer in the story in the Green Ember original canon of stories. And so we're following Joe in the first one. And so that is the last archer. And so we're going to be reading that in the month of January as well. All right, so that will be audiobook though. And now I will tell you about this big book I'm holding. I do not know if I will finish this or if this will be a DNF. So I have always really enjoyed Cassandra Clare's YA novels. This is her first novel that is an adult novel, and it is called Swordcatcher. And I am going into this almost completely blind. The only reason I think it might be a DNF is a lot of times when a YA author goes to adult writing, like an example of what I'm thinking of is like I loved, you know, the Shadow and Bone series, but when I tried to read Leigh Bardugo's adult novel, I wasn't a fan. I felt she took some things too far. So Cassandra Clare, I already, even with, though that's dealing with a YA stories, I already have to page flip sometimes. It gets a little bit too detailed with the romantic situation. So I'm assuming with an adult novel, that might be the case. I just love her writing style. So if it's just a little page flip that I have to do here and there to avoid going a little bit too far from what I am willing to do, I have no problem. But if it's just too much, I'll just DNF and I won't finish it. So this is from the library. That is not a personal book of mine. So that's what I have so far planned. And I hope that you have some fun reading plans for January. Let me know what you're reading. And if you could also let me know, as I'm planning for February, I would love to read. I'm not a fan of winter, but what helps is when I read cozy, wintry books that make winter seem magical. So give me some books that will make winter magical for me. All right. Hope you guys are doing well. Read a lot.